Hi guys, we are rounding up what I will now officially call our little mini rental series. I'm tucked away in the corner because if you hear any noise in the background, it's because some additional tweaking is going on in the house. And you might be wondering what's that tweaking about. Don't worry, I'm going to tell you. I'm also in this episode answering some questions that several of you asked. Why am I using a property manager? What was my investment in this property in terms of sprucing up? Is it absolutely necessary? I'm also sharing a few other insights like regarding insurances and tenant management that you might find useful, whether you are a landlord or a tenant. So a nice little roundup, because I know y'all don't like short shows and I had to persuade Shaka to come out and record this. So enjoy. I'm Kelly Johnley and this is Bajan Renovation. Okay, so you all had some really good questions. I'm going to start with what I think is the biggest question, or the one that got the most parts. How much money did you spend renovating or sprucing up this property? Is all of this necessary? Is it a nice to have? Okay, so for context, I purchased this property somewhere between 2018 and 2019. That was pre-COVID and it was pre-Ross University. I purchased it with the intentions of moving in here and I got it for $260,000. It was a property that was in foreclosure. I invested, because I found the receipt, $36,000 to fix it. Now, I would have shared before that when you purchase a property that is in foreclosure, you are 99.9% of the time purchasing it as is. So if there are any repairs that need to be done, they're at you. The major things of this $36,000, the major thing that I did, which was not a repair, was enclosing the garage. If you're familiar with the original houses in Coyle, you'll know that they come with a garage towards the front of the house in most instances, and many people convert those to the master bedroom. I chose to do that because while I was happy with the house, the bedrooms felt small. Enclosing the garage was a big renovation. The other thing that was done was the painting of the exterior of the home. It really did look washed out, and fixing the lawn. Now when I say fixing the lawn, there was massive overgrowth in here. This is not no weed whacker overgrowth. This is called a professional overgrowth. I would say the bulk of that 36, maybe as much as 30, went to those bigger things. Also, there was some tiling that need to be done and general repairs. Now this additional $6,000 was bringing in furniture and doing some other things in here to make it ready for rental, because by the time I had finished repairing the property, Ross was here and I had an offer on the place. So where did the furniture come from? And so for those of you who think I furnished a whole house, no. Like many people, this was done gradually. I would have shared before that the living room set that I took out very recently with this refresh, I inherited from my late grandmother. Also from her, I was able to get the fridge and the stove that were in her home. Now these things I got refreshed through the services of a designer. Now you may be asking, someone asks, do you always work with a designer? Whenever a project is big to me, I always try to bring in another professional. If you enjoy doing these things, by all means continue to do them, but I could tell you it's not my wheelhouse. So here's what I was able to do with the designer. She was able to refurbish the furniture. She was able to change the chair cushion. She was able to get all the appliances serviced. She was also able to get the appliances painted. She supervised the work on site. Why? Because this is the renovation as well. Why? Because I was at work. I cannot come down here for 2 to 3 weeks to manage a property being renovated. Also, she would have been here for the installation of the ACs, putting in of the fans. And where I really appreciated her input was the layout of the furniture. Now, I'm a stickler for proportions. And I've always found, and you may agree, that when a space is smaller, you need to be very careful about the size of furniture that you bring in. She was able to go and buy a dining table that made sense for the space, but she also laid out the furniture in a way that it really enhanced the better qualities of the space. So when the bill and everything was done, that was $36,000. The tenant that came after that, they stayed for about 2.5 years. When they left, I spent about another $3,000. I painted the interior of the main area of the house, which would be the kitchen and the living dining area. I also had to retile the bathroom. There were some tiles that had popped while they were here. They hadn't fallen out, but you could hear that when you knocked, you could hear they were popping. Also, when you walked onto the front patio, you could hear that the tiles had popped. This is not something for a tenant to do. So when they left, I took the decision to retile those spaces. Now, the question, if these are nice to haves or need to haves. The truth is, the tiler told me, mistress, I could see I find a tile that would look similar to fix up these. I personally do not want 3 and 4 tiles in my bathroom. So I took the decision to retile the space. So that's somewhere between the need to have, nice to have, but that tiling took place. I also did some work with the lawn. It was always one of them lawns that the grass never took to, still kind of is. Got some grass planted, but that refreshed in turn, and as well as bringing in some of the smaller items they requested on the lease, was probably about $4,000. Since then, the refreshes have been minor and I took care of them myself, brought a cleaner, checked to see if anything was broken. At best, maybe a few $100s for those, and that is really changing the linens, buying new towels, making sure that if any glasses in the kitchen were broken, that I replaced those. Those are small refreshes. What you have been seeing in the last 2 episodes is probably more closer to what I have done the first time. Now, was it a nice to have or a need to have? A bit of both. I want to stress this. When you rent a property, right, regardless of how you feel about the tenant coming in and how they're going to treat your place, always remember that the place is yours. If you do not go in and do general maintenance to your place, it is just going to be in a worse state when you get it back. So in this refresh, you would have seen the cleaning. That was an absolute necessity. All 3 days of it. But right now, if you're hearing any noises in the background, it's because the property manager is here and she's also doing a few minor repairs. Now, you would not have seen this with all the prettiness that we were able to show you along with Abed's, but the drawers in the cupboards were damaged. The drawers were out of alignment. When you go and hold some of the locks on the doors, they're shaky. You now have to go and change the locks. You need to go and repair the drawers. In doing her inventory list, the property manager was able to tell me, look, Kelly, I see you have forks and spoons here. You do not have any knives. Lots of little things still need to be done because the property is rented as a turnkey. And I would have shared with you on our IG and Facebook page what a turnkey is. A turnkey is a move-in ready property, and the extent to which it is move-in ready needs to be detailed. It's like moving into a hotel, down to the roll of toilet paper on the side of or down to the roll of the toilet paper in the bathroom. The person should be able to turn the key and move in, hence the name turnkey. So a lot of little things that you would not necessarily have to do if you are renting a place semi-furnished or just renting the space empty are things that needed to be done here. So her team is making some changes also to the decor, and you'd be like, why would you change the decor? We just did the decor. The purpose of staging, as I said, is to enhance the features of the home. It creates an inviting environment, shows the prospective tenant how the space could be used, but it also has a lot of things they may not necessarily want. Between the property manager and myself, we remove those items that usually is accessories, things that you will not leave in the property, and also brought in just a few things to complete the space to the taste of the tenant. So nice to have, need to have is a matter of judgment, but I would say $6,000 at one point, $4,000 on another. And when the dust has settled on this, I think that this whole exercise is going to be in the vicinity of about $5,500. Keep in mind that I bought a sofa. So the cost of the sofa is in there. I bought all the linens. There are minor repairs taking place, and a few other things had to come into the space. Another question that I got, which I was really happy to get, is, do you always use a property manager? No, this is actually my first time. Now, much like the services of a decorator, you do not have to have a decorator or a designer or a property manager if you're renting a unit. It really is based on your needs, your resources, and the time that you have. Now, what you'll find is that property managers and realtors tend to go hand in hand. When you're working a real estate agency, you tend to find that the service is also offered. Now, why use a property manager for this unit? I have another unit that is rented to a local. I would not get a property manager for that. I have found, having rented to non-nationals for about 5 years now, they are definitely a lot more high maintenance. Don't worry, it's reflected in your rent, but they're more high maintenance, and it is very much like if you're renting out an Airbnb. They will call you more. They require more to settle in. They take up a lot of time. Also, remember, they are not familiar with Barbados. So when they need things done in the property, the only person that they have to call is you. Now, a few years ago, I didn't mind being that person that they called, but my circumstances have changed. My nature of my work has changed. I no longer have the bandwidth or the time to be that person. Also, just in terms of resources, having their own resources, much like a decorator or a designer. When you have a designer or a decorator working with you, they have relationships with carpenters, with tilers, with masons, with the people that service your ACs. They come as a team. It is a profession. When I get a property manager, I could tell you, she is out there doing the Lord's work. She has found a tenant. She prepared the lease, got the lease signed, is the person interfacing, making sure that they pay the deposits. The tenant came back with a number of questions and requests. She very professionally and politely dealt with them all. In terms of restaging the property now for the tenant to move in, she's out there dealing with that. When the tenant moves in, I promise you, they are going to have additional requests, require some information, require changes. All of that will come to her. Someone asked what are the fees per property manager? I can't speak to all property managers charge, but usually there is a base fee of a couple of $100s per month, or it is a percentage of the monthly rate. And what you will find is that short term costs longer than long term. And you'd be like, wait, if somebody there longer, why it costs? How come it costs more for it to be less time? Much like an Airbnb, if you have a shorter tenancy, this whole refresh has to happen every time somebody leaves. So depending on which property manager you use, they will give you a schedule of fees, and then you could determine what works for you. But you will usually have a base, or a base plus a percentage, or just a percentage. For me, it is just a percentage. Another thing that was attractive to me is that she lives in Coverly, which means she's very familiar with the area. She is familiar with the needs of the tenants that are coming in generally, but also when it's time now to find a new tenant, she already has the plug because she focuses on the area, which leads me to what might be my third and final, or maybe second to last question. One of you wanted to know, how do I choose a realtor? I can't tell you there's anything particularly scientific to it, but what I would say is look to see what types of properties this person focuses on or seems to specialize in. No one specializes in everything. So if you look on their pages or from what they tell you, you may see that they focus primarily on villas. They may be focusing on townhouses. They may focus on high net worth, high value properties, like in the millions of dollars. They may go primarily with rentals on the lower side of things. They may do what you call a lot of quick turns, quick sales. Wherever your property falls, how you view your property, see if they have a number of similar properties like that, because chances are they'll be familiar with what is required to sell a property or rent a property like yours. They will also have relationships with people who are interested in the types of properties that you have. So that is what I would do. I would say, hey, you know, like for example, it makes sense for me to allow someone who does a lot of work with students to list the properties. Why? Because she already has relationships with students. But it was not an exclusive listing. At the end of the day, try to match like with like. I find that it goes faster and it has served me well. A question you could ask now, and this is for you to get information for yourself, is when you're meeting with the realtor and you meet them at the house, ask them, what challenges do you anticipate you may have getting this place rented? You need to get ahead of whatever it is they will come back to you and ask you to do. So for example, they may say, well, I rented a few in the area and your rent is high comparatively. That doesn't mean to lower your rent. Just prepare that conversation may come up. They may say, well, the kitchen is not up to date or is a little dark, You may then take the position of, look, you know, I'm going to paint, I'm going to change out the light fixtures, stuff like that. It helps you to manage your expectations, but it also helps you to be proactive. Remember, the property belongs to you. It is your investment and it is for you to maintain it. I missed this earlier, but I will just tap back to it. When it comes to repairs, yes, the lease will detail it, and you know you can't do these things without a lease. You cannot do these things without a lease. Who is responsible for what repairs? General rule of thumb. If it is attached to the property, it is your responsibility as the landlord. If it's not attached to the property, then you could talk to the tenant. A tile popping out the wall, not the tenant's fault unless you could demonstrate that they went and licked it out. But something like curtains being stained or torn or something like that, that is something you could speak to them about. Keep those things in mind. Get your contents insured. All insurance companies, as far as I know, just keep in mind the insurance is your responsibility as the landlord also. Property insurance, also get contents insurance. I tell people this: until you pay your last mortgage payment, trust and believe that this house belongs to the bank, which means, you know, when you go and you sign your insurance documents for the first time, you got to sign an endorsement who the mortgagee is. The mortgagee is the bank. You know what that means? That if something was to happen to your property, God forbid it burned to the ground or whatever, the debt at the bank is being satisfied first through the payout. Chances are all the furniture in the house belongs to you. I strongly suggest that you always insure your furniture, because should anything happen to the property, or if you have a hurricane and a roof blows off and your things are damaged, you can get back up on your feet faster. Well guys, that is the roundup of our rentals. I guess we could call now our little micro rental series. So you have 3 rental shows. Whether you're a landlord or a tenant, I encourage you to take a look. I will drop a few more terms you should know regarding rentals on the page so that you can refer to them. The next show that you're going to see is one I am personally very excited about. It is one I wanted to do from last year, but I was waiting from the right time. We are having a conversation with Republic Bank and we are talking about refinancing a property. The reason why I'm excited about it is that it's something that I did early last year when I was purchasing our house, and financially it was a game changer for me. Now, I don't know everything about properties, but I do know that I anticipate, I should say, that many of you do not understand how refinancing works or can work for you. So I am excited to share that. I will also be able to share very soon what went down with the bank for our house. We have a lot of things to look forward to. But for now, I'm Kelly Johnley and this is Bajan Renovation.